So last weekend, I attended a badass bitch party, and the average age of the party goer was about 55 years old, I would say. And those ladies knew how to get the fuck down. So a little bit of context to the badass bitch party. A lady who I met at an internship a few years ago, who I've become close to over time, always throws, I'm not like annually, she throws like every few months like a networking badass bitch party. I try to attend as many as I can, even though I do feel a little bit awkward when I go to them because, like I said, average age of attendee is 55 and I am 24. Usually I'm the youngest person there, and there's a minimum 10-year age gap between me and the next person, which I'm totally fine with. It's very interesting to be surrounded by highly motivated and successful and just interesting people. And they're called networking parties, but they're quite literally just everyone getting drunk and having fun. There's a few reasons that I'm bringing up this party that I attended. The first being I got a question on my advice questionnaire thing. I don't know what to call it. I need a name for it, so if you have any name suggestions, let me know. Anyways, the question was advice for the transition between college and adult real life. And also, I've just been seeing a lot online about people feeling like they are so old at 25 plus.
24, I'm 24 right now. Why do I feel so old? Why is this the oldest I've ever felt in my life? Like, why am I panicking every day that I didn't live enough life?
When you are not old, and there are a few reasons why you feel old, and most of them are because you're just boring and you're not living your life how you should or want to be living it. So let's go back to the party for a second, because I feel like this is relevant to what I'm going to say, both with about transitioning between like college and post-grad life, and also feeling old at 25 when you really shouldn't. When I was at this party, the ladies there, oh my god, I was having FOMO for the years that I was not living and couldn't be a part of their squad. There's a core of them who are all really, really good friends, but even within the extended circle of the people who showed up later, they all are friends and conversationalists. When you go to a party where everyone is older and they're all friends, it's not like a family event, it's like a friendship event. You become aware of how people are talking to each other, and also how the phone doesn't exist. You know, I love my iPhone, I love going on my iPhone, but it's very glaring about how people communicate when you see a scenario where everyone's having fun and they're not even thinking about whipping out their phone unless it's to take like a singular group picture of everyone, or pictures of the charcuterie board that was set up beautifully, insert picture here. And while all those women obviously are successful in their career and they have stability in other ways, what I was most amazed by, or every time I go, I've been to like 10 of them at this point, what I'm always the most amazed by is how getting older doesn't mean that you have to like feel like you're getting older or act like you're getting older. You can still have fun with your girls the same way you would when you're a teenager, early 20s. And it's genuinely inspiring. As a society, we're conditioned to believe that as soon as a woman hits a certain age, whatever age is perceived as old, that they're expected to just shrivel up into a ball and die in the corner and never to be seen or heard of again. When that is deeply untrue, and I think the more people convince themselves that aging means that you have to be hunkered down and cozied in, the more depressed that people are going to feel about aging. If you have the idea in your mind that as soon as you hit 35 that your life is just going to end and you're going to have to just stay inside and not see the girls anymore, not key with the girls anymore, you're kind of manifesting your own destiny. Overall, just being in that room made me feel like the idea of age is truly a social construct. Obviously, it's not like we age. That is a factual thing that happens. But when you meet people who feel like your equal, your counter, like having a friend who is older, you realize that aging doesn't mean what you think it does when you're a teenager or when you're in your early 20s, which is me now, and I'm slowly coming to the realization of this. So let's go through it. So let's talk about the idea of being being chopped and at the bright age of 25.
Just found out I'm chopped and also so
I'm 24, turning 25, but, you know, I think that when it comes to the online conversation about you're old on the internet, if you're over 26, 27 is when you become truly chopped and unk? The first reason, I think, is because for the first time online, ages are truly mixed between who is interacting with who is fighting in the comments with who. Your favorite creator could be 5 years older than you, 5 years younger than you, and you might not know until you begin to getting sucked into a certain algorithm that is leaning younger than you are or leaning older than you are. And you can see the differences more glaring about how people feel about your age or younger than you. And I know in the past people on the internet intermingled still, but you could tell who was a teenager by what they post, what they engage with. Where now people of every ages are enjoying the same type of content, and in your mind you think that it's the people like you, so you'd think they'd be around your age, and then they're not. And it makes you feel either immature or mature about the content you're consuming when it's really just content. And the reason that I bring this up is because if you're getting slowly pulled into online spaces that steer younger, they may be having conversations about getting older, which is a typical conversation to have, you know, growing up. And there you can begin to see people saying, oh my God, 24, 25 is so old. Get off the internet, grandpa. Go buy a house. Which I wish I could buy a house. Thank you very much. Won't be happening anytime soon. And then I think that feeds into people thinking that they should be acting older or younger to kind of fit into an internet group that they are a part of or want to be a part of. A second reason I think also online that we're seeing a rise, I don't know if rise would be the right word, of people staying in, like, I'm too old to go to the club, I'm 24.
Some things I'm too old for. I'm 24 years old, yet I act like I'm 80. I'm too old for going out. Just going out in general.
Get your ass in the club. You don't have to be drinking. Get your ass in the club. Maybe not even get your ass in the club. Get your ass out of your house. With wellness culture becoming more prominent, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing that wellness culture is becoming more on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, being more conscious of what you eat, drink, your sleep. But at the same time, tracking yourself and forcing yourself to go to bed at like 8 p.m. will make you feel older because you're not doing quote-unquote young people things. But where I think it really makes you feel older is the lack of social interaction you have that we typically associate with being 60 years old, about to retire, kind of trying to grind out the last few working moments of your life before you're free in a different way. But again, back to the internet, with more mixing of people's ages, teenagers going online, seeing videos of someone, they're doing their nighttime routine on a Saturday night, promoting staying in, and you got to get your preventative Botox by 25 or else you're going to have wrinkles immediately. So it's literally like a back and forth cycle of like one keeps pushing the other. Another reason along the lines of social media, this sort of goes with the second reason as well. There's 3 types of people in the world. There's people who are fun, there are people who are boring, and then there's the people that are so addicted to their phone that they're not either. They're just like in they just kind of float through existence without really having any course of action. And I don't think it's a crazy, I mean, that's obviously very concise, being fun, boring, or addicted to your iPhone. But when it comes to aging, being perceived as old or young, it has nothing to do with physically your age. It's all about your fucking aura. Being cool, the aura of cool will automatically make you seem younger. Sort of the difference of what I was talking about initially with this video with the party of the 55 plus crowd. Obviously, I can be aware of their age, especially when I talk to them in certain ways where, you know, asking for advice and just their history is very obviously there when they all get together. But I don't see them as old. I see them just as having life experiences. I don't feel that they shouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing if they wanted to because they're older. Also with that party, where I think it's eye-opening is that a lot of them, while they're very successful in their careers, a lot of them are still trying to do new things. One of the people I met, she was a director, and usually she directed horror movies, but she's doing her first romantic comedy and they're filming it down in some Caribbean island. I forget exactly what. She was so excited for her new adventure. In a way, talking with her felt, even though she was vastly more accomplished than I am, but it felt like we could relate to each other. You know, she's just starting a whole new journey, and talking to her, I'm not like, wow, you're so old, like this is how you are at where you are in your life because you're so old. It's like, no, she's where she's in her life because she's always progressing and changing and wanting to accomplish new things, and I think that's literally awesome. I also think a reason people feel so old when they start to like get into their mid-ish 20s is it's your first time that you're having to do the monotonous tasks that you see your parents and family do. A lot of people, when they begin to start their adult life, they're thinking about, damn, I gotta do this for 60 more years, which is daunting. Don't get me wrong about that. But I think you start to feel old because you're starting to put yourself in the category that is the same of someone who's just about to retire when you're not in the same category at all because you're doing mildly similar things. Which, yes, some older people might be unhappy with their lives and very monotonous and not changing up and not having fun. So they have a bleak outlook and opinion on aging, so you feel that you're already slowly falling down that hole of I hate my wife syndrome, basically. And I think it's easy to slip into that hole of feeling if you don't choose to live differently. You can be 70 years old and embracing your youth. You can feel young for as long as you want to. Tapped in, get your ass, clock the fuck in, figure out what's happening on TikTok for the high schoolers. Then you'll feel tapped in, and then you'll realize I don't want to be young like this. Obviously, whatever age you are, kind of depressing quote where it's today is as young as you'll ever be again. But I kind of hate that quote in a way because yes, well, it's true, you'll never be as young as you are again. It's very pessimistic when I think that idea can be optimistic. Like, you're always growing, and just because you're not physically fucking 16 years old anymore doesn't mean that you have to only clock into your desk job, brain rot, and die. Age is literally just a measure of years. It's simply a quantity thing. Let's get into the question at hand. How to transition between college and post-grad life. So I moved to Chicago at 19 to go to college in the Chicagoland area. My freshman year of college, COVID happened. So I never truly had the college experience, along with the fact that where I went to school, there wasn't really college community. Basically, you met people your freshman year if you lived on campus, or most people, if they didn't live on campus, they lived really close to campus. Your freshman year, you would mingle, make friends, and then after that, you wouldn't really run into anyone unless you were in classes with someone or intentionally saw them. Yes, there was a way to make friends, but it kind of was already making friends in an adult way, where it wasn't like you could just bump into someone and kind of fall into friendship with them because you saw them on campus a lot, or you kind of had to navigate meeting people at social events, parties, through classes, which would be similar to work, where you have to go out of your way to try to be friends with someone, or else you will not become friends with them. There was no forced proximity. Anyways, when I graduated college, I didn't give a fuck. I could not have gave less of a fuck. Yeah, I'm glad to be getting my degree, but I do feel bad for people that when they graduate from school, they have to immediately move out of their college town and all of their friends move back to their respective states or areas, and then you're immediately isolated, kind of without being ready for it. For me, I lived with my roommates I lived with in college 2 years after I graduated college, so when we moved out of my last apartment was more of what I could relate to graduating college and moving away from friends. But I do think that in the past year is where I've had truly to deal with the feeling of post-grad, transitioning into adult life from college, in terms of the vibes, in terms of what I'm doing, compared to before. So let's talk about it. Most importantly, when you graduate college, you have to be so intentional about making time for friendship, making time for your own happiness. You can't just stumble into it anymore. You have to go out of your way and do the work. For example, when people are in college, they get used to having their friends 5 minutes down the road. And obviously that's just like not how it works when people have jobs and lives that they need to attend to. So you have to make the plan. You have to make new friends. And that's not to say that I don't stay in. There is the balance there. If I'm doing a few things during the week, maybe I want a weekend night that I stay in. If I'm doing nothing during the week, definitely want to go out one of the days. Just because you're a little bit tired and you don't want to disrupt your comfortability doesn't mean that you should. You need to disrupt the flow. So it's the only way to get into a new flow of loving life, feeling young, feeling free, feeling like you can do literally anything. In this last year, even though I started a full-time job and a lot of people talk about how that's literally sucks the soul out of their life, granted, I really enjoy my job, but I've been able to strike a work-life balance, specifically with work. There's a lot of other elements of my life where I'm a bit more chaotic of like managing my time and whatever, but I really don't carry my actual job work home with me. And so as soon as I get home, I'm like, okay, that's done. So what do I get to do now? What do I get to do now? I can read a book. I can write a YouTube video. I can do research. There's so many things that you can do after work. Also, this is coming from a privileged place of like my 9 to 5 is I'm just kind of sitting there. I'm not so exhausted by the end of it. It's very mentally low stress in general, or to me at least. So I do have a little bit more extra capacity for wanting to do things after work than someone doing fucking manual labor in the goddamn field, someone who's fucking coal mining or working in marketing. But there are days when I come home from work and I just want to lay in bed and I'll force myself to do something else, to do something that makes me genuinely happy. And that has exponentially made post-grad life more fulfilling because I'm not thinking about everything that I'm missing or don't get to do anymore because I'm just doing that. I'm choosing to see friends. I'm choosing to say yes to the thing. Because we can reframe the scenario to moving to a city where you don't know anyone, have no friends, don't know what's going on. If that is your particular scenario, wanting you to find something for yourself that you enjoy so you feel less lonely because you have yourself for company. And 2, if you move to a new city, have no friends, reach out to whoever you know and ask if they know anyone who lives in the city, like second or third friend. Well, like you could reach out for like your cousin, for example. Hey, do you know anyone who lives here or could know someone who lives here? Please, I'm so lonely. Help me. And I think that has a pretty good success rate. A few years ago, I met this girl who she had moved to, I think, California and didn't know anyone, but that was her tactic to making friends. It's like, that's the smartest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, not having to have people that you directly know, but just kind of adjacently know and kind of extending the olive branch, like, hey. Another tip I would say when it comes to transitioning from college to your kind of adulthood, you don't need to put so much pressure on it. There's 2 sides of this where when you start your job, you feel this pressure to kind of present as more knowledgeable and on it than you might be necessarily. And I think more people should take advantage of being like the young person where you can kind of not get away with things, but ask questions. Like, you can relieve the pressure a little bit about messing things up necessarily. Obviously, you don't want to be messing things up with important, sensitive issues, but there is a wiggle room, and I think you should really lean into that wiggle room where sometimes if you're in your mid-20s, oopsies, maybe we're a little bit tired when we go into the office the next day. You don't have to be acting like you're 35 with 4 children to provide for the first thing when you're out of college going into your real life. You're allowed to make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of growing. You're not a criminal for making mistakes. I know I feel that way, that it's like, oh fuck, I'm the worst person ever because I messed up this stupid task that probably no one's gonna look at or give a fuck about. I think my last piece of advice when it comes to transitioning post-college into adulthood is you do have to accept that you are an adult now. And that sounds not fun, having to pay rent, having to pay for everything, having to literally be alive in our year 2025 and dealing with that coming into the job market. But understanding that with new responsibilities, you're also getting new freedoms. You no longer are stuck in a school system. You aren't being graded anymore. You don't have to worry about people knowing about you or talking about you, because graduating college, you can kind of decide who you want to keep around and who you don't really want to keep around anymore, and what are they going to do. You get to choose everything as an adult, which sounds kind of scary, but what you do with your days, who you spend your time with, you can choose all of that. It's not like you have to hang out with someone because your college friend group hangs out with them. You can just never see them again. Oh, don't get a dog. My final advice for postgrad into adulthood. Don't get a dog. Do not get a dog. Getting a dog is practically like having a child. Don't do that to yourself unless you are a dog enthusiast. Just because you enjoyed having a dog when you grew up, just because you enjoy animals, don't get a dog. You're gonna have to take care of it, but it's so much responsibility that fully optional. Think about it long and hard before you get that thing. To kind of round this video out, I don't know. As of right now in my life, I really can't relate to the feeling totally unk. At times I do feel a little bit out of the trends of what's going on, but I think that's because I've been trying to not use social media as much in a positive way. So that's why I'm not too mad about it. But girl, I've been feeling young. Oh my god. It's my first day out here and I'm fully enjoying that. I'm live, laugh, loving, being young, alive, and free as much as I can. And going to that party the other day with all my old lady friends, let's just say that it was fun as fuck, and they inspire me to live my life magically. Life doesn't stop as soon as teen is out of your age. It truly just begins at that moment. Okay, that's kind of all my thoughts on that, I think. If you want to ask me any questions about life and stuff, there's a few other advice session questions that I want to hit on. So if you ask me some questions, I haven't answered them yet. I'm trying to figure out a good flow of different videos that I can do with these. Because while I want to answer your questions, I feel like I want them to be topically, in a way, fitting into how I'm feeling about life. Not in a selfish way, but just because I feel like it's easier to talk about stuff when I'm kind of relating to it as well. But yeah, so if you have any questions for me, link is in my Instagram bio. Go follow me there, or you can check out my YouTube bio. Alrighty, bye!